Welcome, everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk. My name is Pawel the Cat. My co-host, Evan, is running a bit behind, which is okay, but we're going to get started. Welcome to Season 7, Episode 6 of Two Guys in Hockey Talk. I am glad to be back again on a beautiful Wednesday night because we've got a lot to cover. We've got the wonderful Evan joining in. Evan, how you doing?
Hey, I'm not doing too bad. I'm running a little late.
Okay. You're the last one on the ice. I get it. You're getting the standing ovation. So how's it been for you? How are things going?
Hey man, it's going great. It's great to as Pawel says, it's great to have hockey back. But what he really means, it's great to have the best hockey in the world at the highest level playing already. So yeah, no man, it's been a great year. I'm really excited for a lot of the stuff that we're going to cover today. There's a couple things I just slapped at you. Not sure if you've even saw them. We're going to talk about far too early surprises in just a little bit, and we're going to talk about far too early disappointments. And I'm just going to say NHL, that is. So, hey guys. Hey guys, great to be here. I don't even know. Did you get started on anything? Did we talk about?
I just got through the intro, and I was just getting you into the thing. So we're getting to the groove here. So we appreciate it. Hey Kyle, great to hear from you. Boston is unreal. I mean, Evan, the storylines are just insane. There's so many things happening. Panic mode has already begun, and we have yet to play some teams 5 games, right? So we're going to get it. But I do want to shout out Kyle because I tuned into his show a couple days ago. Great show on Sunday. He's been covering the NBA, which is starting up again here. The MLB playoffs are on tonight. You know, the Jays are trying to potential elimination, going down 3-0 to the Seattle Mariners. Lots of other sports are going active. NFL is back. Kyle's got you covered, so go check out his channel. He's got some great content there. But Evan, I just want to shout out the Boston Bruins. I want your quick thoughts on the Boston Bruins, because everyone said this team's not making the playoffs. And Pasternak comes out and has a 3-point game. He plays goalie, which I told the Edmonton Oilers Twitter account, found your goalie, Edmonton. He blocks a shot. He comes out. Now, I know he isn't captain, but he is coming out like a rocket, and he is intense. He is bringing the fire. He is bringing the fury, and he is being a Bruin. Your quick thoughts on Boston?
Okay, man. Well, they were actually a part of my conversation, so let's go to it. Far too early surprises in the NHL, and they are one of them. I did not expect them to come out looking as good as they have. Looks like the coaching, they're doing really well. They pulled the team together. But to see some of the young players really stepping up, the work ethic, what I notice is the structure of the game that they're actually playing. It's nothing fancy, nothing over the top. But I really appreciate what I'm seeing from the Boston Bruins. Again, far too early to start speculating anything. But yes, exactly, Kyle. They are a scrappy bunch, which is supposed to be bruiser hockey. That's what a Bruin is. Let's bruise them up a bit out there, right? So yeah, guys, I'm actually really excited for them. And I think let's all remember Swayman last year. All that contract dispute really threw things in a little bit of a poop show, let's just say, early on for them. Just because the truth is when they got going, they were already behind the 8 ball. The goalie hadn't been in camp. They hadn't had all this connection. There was the whole thing with Brad Marchand starting the season. So everything is kind of all over the place. So what's your first early surprise?
I mean, so before we get to that, I do want to shout out Fraser Minton, who was traded over from Toronto for that Brandon Carlo trade, but he's looked really good in place. And for Toronto, who's kind of been hit and miss this season, it's been interesting to see kind of what he brings in that top 9 lineup. So, I think he had a game-winning goal. He's really performed well, so good for them. The biggest surprise, which and again, I don't know the full score tonight. I believe it was 5-2. You guys can let us know with the Buffalo Sabres. The Buffalo Sabres are 0-3 to start the season. They've struggled to score. They lost JJ Peterka. I mean, they didn't replace that. And now there's rumblings of both Alex Tuck and Rasmus Dahlin and even Tage Thompson wanting potentially out if things do not change, right? And we're looking potentially Christmas and what that looks like. And for a franchise that, you know, the NHL succeeds, Evan, when the Buffalo Sabres are competitive in the playoffs. This is not good. And I think heads will roll, whether it's Kevin Adams, whether it's Lindy Ruff, and I know he just started there again. But I mean, what are you doing? You need to be competitive. And say what you want, injuries just really hit them. And I feel so bad for Josh Norris, who's now out. Now, I had Ottawa Senators reach out. Yeah, and Ottawa Senators fans say, here we go again, but they don't have to deal with it because they got Dylan Cousins. And again, I never understood that trade, but what is going on with Buffalo, Evan? Give me your quick thoughts.
Yeah, well, so Buffalo, I called this coming into the season, did not think they'd start off strong, buddy. You know, so the whole Alec Tuck, I would be shocked. I know he's got one of the nicest homes in the area out in Buffalo. There's been all this talk around that. I would be shocked if he signs a long-term contract there for next year. I actually see him potentially being that piece to move on. Frankly, they're going to have to try to retool still. They are not done. I expect Bowen Byron to be out this year as well. I love it, Zill. Zill's actually writing, I see in the comments on the side. You want to pull it up so everyone can see it there. Yeah. Well, there you go. You got your Easter. And now the thing is, the Bagula's got a lot of money to throw around. In fact, they built the Penn State University.
So they have an internal cap. And the only reason they're able to continue on is because the Buffalo Bills continue to be somewhat of a successful franchise. Now they can't get over.
But the internal cap is only because they're not a winning franchise yet. When they can start winning games, I think the Pagulas will open up the bank. Yeah,
they've had success in the past. A couple of years ago, they were only a few points out of the playoffs, and they did not want to spend to the cap. They didn't want to pay JB Peterka, and they got rid of him. I mean, they paid him, but like
I get it.
They're looking at moving Bowen Byron because he's asking for $9 million. I mean, really, I don't buy it. I think
like
the Pagula can change up. What's that? It's not
your rant. So it was interesting. Yeah, it is your rant because you asked me what I think about it, and then you jumped in on my piece because obviously this irritates you, and you don't think they'll spend. And then you used the example they were just a few points out. I already told you way back then in that season that I didn't think they were a winning team. They need to be a team that's not playing with a wild card before they need to be a true contender to get past a first round. That's the kind of team I think that they need to be. You know, what Zill wrote, hey, half their cap is used on defense. Yes, absolutely. Great.
And that's great. And you need good defense, but you also need talent all throughout your lineup. And when you get rid of players like Dylan Cousins, and you look at,
you know, though, I've said this, though, and I said it before, though, Pawel, I didn't like any of the coaches, and I haven't liked any of the managers they've had to go through there. I wasn't big on Botterill. I wasn't big on Adams. I did not think they should be the guys going through. I haven't saw any coach that they've actually had gone in there that I went, by the way, you know what? We're getting going here. A little bit of arguing going on, having some fun with hockey talk. So, hey, guys, a bevy. Make sure if you got one there. Hey, Zale, you got a bevy? Pop a bevy. Run to the storage. Get a cold bevy.
Okay, it's not much of a rant, but what I think is happening in Buffalo is they need a plan and they need an identity. When you look at teams around the NHL, what is your identity? And I think if Buffalo figures that out, then they can build around it. You have some really good, talented pieces. And don't get me wrong, it's a very wild and very difficult division in the Atlantic because there's a lot of teams up and coming. Montreal, which we'll get to in a bit. Detroit's trying to stay afloat. Toronto's still competing. Tampa, you can say, looks like on the downward, but they're not going to go down without a fight. And then, of course, the perennial champions, the Florida Panthers. So, and we just talked about Boston. So it's going to be a tough division. And if you're going to try to outbid, let's say, Montreal, Detroit, and or potentially Tampa Bay, one of those teams, or even Buffalo, what's like? How are you going to do this? So they need to get going. They need to get started. But I did want to get into Montreal because
Jay, so are they your surprise now? Let's stick to my role here. Let's stick to our script. Come on.
Okay.
I want to know. I'm guessing far too early surprise.
Early surprise for the NHL for teams.
Yes.
I would say Boston is up there. Surprisingly,
Yep. So Boston is your surprise, then for
Yeah.
good, and your disappointment is Buffalo.
correct.
Okay.
The two
Okay.
wins.
Okay. Go you. And so, can I just say, my disappointment is the Tampa Bay Lightning. What a bad start to the year. And so I'm just going to leave it at that and go ahead and jump into some of your stuff you wanted to talk about with the Canadians.
Well, we wanted to talk about Montreal because Kent Hughes signs up another young player. Lane Hudson is signed at a very good deal, and people think, oh, well, he only played one season. He won the Calder. He was one of the best players last year on defense. Had one of the higher ranked numbers. The analytics love him. He's an analytics darling, and this kid's only going to get better. Now, it was kind of a weird thing because, his dad had this 45-minute video over the summer about saying how, Montreal's kind of chipping up, but they got it done, and the team is doing well so far. They have a lot of their guys locked up with the cap going up. We know that Patrick Laine probably won't stay there long term. He's got one more year left, I think, on his big contract of 6.7. But let's talk about a prospect, because I know you love prospects. Let's talk about Ivan Demidov. He's 19 years old. He's an early Calder potential finalist, which wouldn't surprise me if he made it because of what he's able to do and because of the media presence in Montreal. It's Toronto's the mecca of hockey, but Montreal, there's just the heartbeat of it, right? You see it. The fan base just loves the game. And so I wanted to know, because he had a goal and assist versus the Kraken. What are your thoughts on Demidov so far and what you've seen of him on the ice?
So I'm not going to have him as my far too early surprise as a player, because I expected this. And if you guys go back to my Revs top 15, I had him ranked number 2 overall. So again, number 2 overall, right behind Maxim Celebrini. So it's just that he obviously wasn't coming. He was 1 year behind, just like Matvei Mishkov. There's a couple things I saw watching his game that I think as it gets heavier, and I noticed this in the playoffs, but again, he hasn't had a full year behind him. I like his work. I like his effort. I like his skating. I like his skill, but I am a little bit worried about his strength. That would be the one piece that I think if there's anything, they're going to need to continue to work on, because that's not a skill set. Well, I guess it could be, because you're going to have to learn to position yourself at different levels for grinding. The KHL does not have the same kind of work pluggers in those corners. So that would be my only thing. I'm not worried about any injury or anything like that for him. I think the guy's an incredible player. But that would be kind of my early piece with Demidov. But I will say, I think Ivan Demidov will win the Calder Trophy this year.
Okay. I still have Matthew Schaefer as mine, but fair enough.
Thank you for not changing your mind after last week.
No. I know what I stuck with. I've enjoyed watching Matthew Schaefer play.
Oh, well, that's a first one. You're sticking with something.
I know, right? It happens sometimes.
Maybe
myself.
Next week we'll have to do far too early Stanley Cup prediction.
Now, is there another player that surprised you so far this season, so early in the season, for any team that's been playing?
Actually, it's Frank Nazar, who's also going to be eligible. He signed that big contract, and I wasn't too sure what I thought about that contract coming in for him. I was a little bit worried that contract might be a little bit too rich, frankly, for my liking. Again, I'm just a fan of the game, so no one really gives a crap whether or not I like the contract or not. But I was more so worried for Chicago that could be a bad deal for them unless he lives up to it. With such a short sample, look at Marco Rossi. More sample and not as good a number. But again, I get the UFA years, all that kind of stuff that gets kind of put into it. Let me just say, the Lane Hudson, I am one of the ones that said, this is far too early for this kind of contract. This is one of the reasons I don't like them coming out of the NCAA and stuff and coming into these 2 years left on an entry level, and then you're trying to figure out what to pay. Is he that good? I don't know. So Pawel, let's just hypothetically say, I get it that we were overpaying players for what they past did, but you know what? At least they had earned some money the year before in the playoffs or something. But this is my concern. Imagine you and I go to work, okay, and you have just an outstanding year at work, and you triple my wage. You triple my wage, and I had a good year, but I didn't have your year. And let's just say you dealt with a lot of hard cases and really turned some barrels no one expected, and they just triple your wage. And it's for 8 bloody years. You know, I don't know. I struggle with that. That it's not because he may not afford it. I do struggle. Is he really going to? I still think he falls back this year. He will not produce as much points this year as he did last year. That was my prediction. And like Ovechkin, even though I saw coming up, it looked like he was going to make it, I still stuck to my prediction. Just like you're sticking to your Rookie of the Year prediction in Matthew Schaefer. What do you do if he gets sent back? Are you sticking with that prediction?
Schaefer?
Yeah, if he gets sent back before in the end after
Change
9.
my mind now. I'm sticking with it. You know, that's the fun thing about predictions. They're always wrong. I'm always wrong, so it's okay to
So
make.
what you do is just say, "Well, I'm still sticking with my prediction, but because we know he can't win, this would have been my runner-up."
If he even gets a few votes at the end of the year when they showcase the ballot, then I know I was in good company. Someone believed in him just like I did.
So anyway, Nazar was one, and the other one that I really enjoyed his first game last night was Matthew Misa. I really liked what I saw from his overall game. Unfortunately, that Shark, I don't think he's going to have the points that I'd like to see him have. I even think Macklin could take a step back this year unless they can pull something together. Yeah, people are focusing in. There's a few. It's a bit of a mess, out there. So, hey, why don't we kind of quickly mention to everyone, by the way, you can see the QR code, guys. You can scan that if you're watching us. That takes you directly to our website at twoguysinhockeytalk.com, as well as, Pawel, how can they follow us and on what social media?
You can follow us at Twitter/X at Revenev, or myself at hockey_2. You can go to our Facebook page at Two Guys in Hockey Talk, as well as our YouTube page. And our website is twoguysinhockeytalk.com, as well as our email is twoguyshockeytalk@gmail.com. We love connecting with you. Feel free to reach out. We'd love to have you on the show, be a writer, whatever it may involve in hockey. We love hearing from you. Now, one thing I will say, Evan, is that too quickly before we get to buy the numbers, players that kind of have surprised me, both good and bad, is the good is Andrew Mangiapane. Coming in Edmonton, he has really fit in. He is doing all the little things, and prior to last night's game versus the Rangers, he was a goal per game, so he was on pace for 82 goals this season. He has done all the right little things, and he's been brought up even to play top-line minutes with the big guns, McDavid and Draisaitl. And so I like what I'm seeing out of him. He's a workhorse. He's doing what he needs to do, and he's chipping away. Now, he's not the biggest of guys, but he reminds me a lot of Connor Garland in Vancouver, that a kind of guy that likes to battle and really, compete. So I think coaches like to see that. Now, speaking of a teammate of Connor Garland's, surprise and kind of disappointing player so far is Elias Pettersson. And there's already rumblings out of Vancouver about his lack of production. In 3 games, he's got 1 assist, and he hasn't really looked like himself. Now, he did bulk up. He did gain some size. He had a good training camp as well as a preseason, but it seems like he's just having a hard time getting the puck in the net. And for a guy who's now your top line center and is supposed to produce, and all the distractions are supposed to be gone. JT Miller's gone. There's nothing there anymore to deal with. You are the guy now beyond Quinn Hughes, right? You need to start producing, because beyond that win versus, I think it was Calgary where they spanked them 5-1. I really think that he needs to get going if Vancouver has any chance or wants to push for a playoff seed. But that's just kind of my quick thoughts.
Andrew Mangiapane, I had a couple actually Flames fans reach out to me. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and they said, "Listen, you got a good one." We were pretty the fact he didn't stay with Calgary and they moved on. They said that Edmonton's got something good. And I was just like, well, I guess we'll see. Mind you, though, I will say he is on the ice quite a bit. He reminds me of Jordan Eberle. He's on the ice quite a bit. He's like falls,
Yeah.
but again, he's not a huge guy, and he's there pretty quick. I mean, he's traveling at some pretty high speeds. He's actually had speeds well over Connor McDavid already this year. So that's
Zilcher's right. The Caps are going to burn me, but again, it's early in the season. Lots can change. So, anything
it's a down year, right? That's right too.
Yeah, and so she also says Adam Foote is forcing Pedersen to play a different game, which is true. It could definitely change up his thing, but we'll see how the season progresses for the Vancouver Canucks.
And do you remember we talked about this last year when we were talking? Like I said, I wanted Manny Malhotra as a coach. They did. Foote. Everyone is saying it. I mean, even the insiders later on after the hire were saying it. I thought they were not going to go with Malhotra potentially because of Quinn Hughes and staying there. And it's interesting hearing Jamie last week. For some reason, I don't know if it's his Flyer hopeful and his Flyer faithfulness that he's hoping they get Quinn Hughes. But
he's been tweeting about it quite a bit. I saw him after that our interview.
I think he's speaking it into existence, man. I think that's his thing. So that's become his new religion.
Yeah.
He's the Quinn Hughes.
You guys can let us know your thoughts on whether Quinn Hughes stays or goes, what happens with the Vancouver Canucks, and any other players that have surprised you.
Are we ready for by the numbers?
Let's get to
Okay, let's do it.
Puckpedia, the ultimate source for your NHL salary cap information, player contracts, team cap hits, transaction news, and injury news.
By the numbers.
Well, hey, before you get started, Pawel, I do want people mention. So interesting enough, let me just double check. Look at that. Next week, Puckpedia's own Hart Levine will be with us here at Two Guys and Hockey Talk. You need to go in. They have some incredible stuff that you go in. You can play fantasy. You can do stuff. In fact, you can subscribe to them to get all the latest on the movements and players and signings, contracts, salary cap. Be able to do it. But don't do one thing I've done recently when it comes to Puckpedia. Don't ask AI when you're trying to be lazy, because AI gave me half this year's information, half last year's information, and went in the middle. And then I looked like a stupid dummy on X. It's just like I didn't want to tell anyone. So unless they watch our show, they don't get to know. But yeah, definitely go right to Puckpedia and check it out.
That's one of your sources, huh? Awesome. Well, some quick numbers that have been happening. So both Tyler Myers and Ian Cole have been fined $2,500. Tyler Myers in that Vancouver versus Edmonton game where Myers cross-checked Mr. Connor McDavid in the gonads, and Ian Cole for his kind of very reckless tripping of Steven Stamkos of the Nashville Predators. It's nothing to these guys, but the NHL doesn't want to set a precedent, so they're going to throw in a quick fine just to make sure things are happening.
Does that change anything? Does that change anything?
I think so. I think it does, because sometimes that means that you're the one. What if you're the one paying for the bill, for the meal, for the team, right? And you got to cover that.
I'm gonna leave that. I want to talk about my rant of the night next week. Okay, I'm coming back. I want to talk about fines and penalties, suspensions and stuff next week in my rant. Okay.
Well, fine.
Go ahead.
I said, well, fine. Some been injuries watching day to day or week to week for some players, including Markstrom, who was just in discussions for a contract with the New Jersey Devils. Matt Duchene, he took that big hit from Jason Middleton versus the Minnesota Wild. It looked rough, but it was a clean hit to my mind from what I saw. And Lucas Raymond, who's out for tonight's game in that last game versus, I believe, Toronto over the weekend. So it was definitely there's definitely a lot of injuries happening, including, of course, Dmitry Kulikov of the Florida Panthers. So another loss for the Florida Panthers. It doesn't look like they've lost a step, but you keep losing pieces. It's tough to kind of make that up, but it's the next man up mentality. So good for them. I think Montreal or Ottawa Senators, it was also announced the heartbeat and their captain, Brady Tkachuk, is out 4 weeks with a wrist injury. I saw that again also versus Nashville. Nashville's been part of some interesting things. Even last night when they played Toronto, what's a new player named Oz something? He ended up Ozmet, yeah. He ended up kind of bodying their young rookie. Easton Cowan went into the boards. Cowan looked fine, but again, just a dangerous, reckless play. You never want to see that. And so, yeah, some of that stuff is happening. Now, you wanted to talk a little bit about offer sheets and something that Carolina's been kind of working off this past summer. You want to get into that?
Yeah, just a quick little mention just around the offer sheets is so last summer, guys, everyone knew that, of course, they signed Andre Miller, but they were the one that was in on it with Andre Miller and Evan Bouchard, and they actively sought out those players, and then they talked to the teams. They said, listen, we're going to put an offer sheet in if you're not doing something, unless you want to make a deal. And they were going to get their man one way or the other. And they, of course, they got Andre Miller. So it's interesting because I think a lot of people look and say, oh, the bad boys, right? They did this with Montreal. I mean, in fact, they pulled they pulled a smart one in the sense that they only had Kasperi. Is it Kasperi Kotkaniemi? I think is how do you say his name? I always
Kasperi Kotkaniemi. Yeah. That was a while back from Montreal. Yeah.
Well, but if you remember when they signed him to that offer sheet, they did it for a 1 year. It was a 1 year offer sheet, and then they could sign him whatever the next year. It was an agreement that they actually had in place. So they're aggressive, but nobody talks about them. They're kind of always there on the side. They're the little sister, just like, they're always around, always hanging out, and they're very competitive. But yet big old, bad old Vegas, Kelly McCrimmon gets all the news, and it's only because of the LTIR that they've been. If it wasn't for the LTIR, they'd be the exact teams. And by the way, the LTIR, you can use it or not, and just that Carolina, outside of goalies, they've really had no other LTIR earlier in the year that they could take advantage of that for the playoffs. So, and I don't know, maybe they're just not that kind of team, but let's face it. I mean, they've been aggressive for being a team that's tight. They've definitely been a different kind of team. So, hey,
they've developed very well internally, and they've really helped themselves kind of set themselves up for the future, both with their veterans and their prospects. And I think they still need that scoring the postseason, because that's often what's gotten them in trouble. But they're expected to do at least for another second, third round. Like, they're a very well run.
I was told, expect them, if there is something big out there, they're going big fish hunting again, and they will do it every year as long as they have a chance. All right, guys, that's it for By the Numbers.
Puckpedia, the ultimate source for your NHL salary cap information, player contracts, team cap hits, transaction news, and injury news.
By the numbers.
All righty. So I know we wanted to get into a little bit of information around the rink because there's been some things happening beyond the NHL. So we'll get back to the NHL a little bit later on in the show. But should we get into Evan?
Yeah.
Around the rink.
Oh, sorry. Flow Hockey, guys, get your Flow Hockey now. They are one of our new sponsors. Check out all things. On any given night, man, you can have anywhere, if you're watching in between 5 and 7 o'clock, you can watch anywhere from a minimum of 20 up to like 40, 50 games going on your Flow Hockey channel. So it costs you approximately about $200 for an entire year. Definitely worth it if you follow things outside of the NHL. You can follow, if you guys like the BCHL, you can follow all their action. You want to actually watch some of the Canadian elite clubs in Canada, you can follow them. You want to watch a lot of OHL, that is your exclusive channel this year on Flow. And don't forget Victory Plus. We're not one of our partners, but that's where you can get your WHL. Why don't you start us off, and then we'll flip back and forth here. Go ahead.
For sure. So it sounds like the PWHL is expanding, as we've discussed on previous episodes. We're happy the league is successful, and it sounds like both Vancouver and Minneapolis are the two teams or the forefront runners right now for teams that would be accepted into this expansion. So that's pretty cool. It looks like the game is growing. They're not expanding too fast. I know there's even talks about NHL expansion, but I think for the PWHL, this is a great way to promote the talent, bring in more women to play the game of hockey, and really grow the game in various ways. So we're very proud. If anybody in the PWHL is watching or would like to connect with us, please let us know. I do know of one player that plays for team. I think it was for either New York or Montreal. It's a family friend. So I'm trying to connect there to get them on the show to kind of speak about things and, their experiences. So that would be really cool.
What do you think we need to do to, let's just take a moment here. We don't always we used to give a lot more. I'm just going to be totally authentic here. We gave a lot of attention to women's hockey. And for those that have actually enjoyed that part of it, we haven't gave as much, probably starting halfway through last season. And part of that, you got to blame on me. I think I was pretty disappointed, Pawel. We've done a lot to reach out. We had people scheduled that had to come off. Now, I have no idea whether they can or cannot. Are they under NHL type of deals where they can't actually go on anything that's not sponsored, any podcasts or things that are not sponsored by them? But what about a representative to be able to even send us something or communicate or say, sorry, guys, we can't do that? I mean, there's new development coaches. There's new skill coaches. There's oncomings. I've only had a couple, but a couple main coaches in NHL. And they'll tell me, just like Alex Thomas working in the AHL, some AHL teams will allow you, some won't. But, I mean, they let us know, hey, we can't come on due to the rights and stuff. I'm cool with that. I get it. But I think if they want to grow the game, they got to start letting the grassroots people and people like us that promoted women's hockey, they need to stick with it. So, and by the way, guys, now saying that, I feel, you know what? Let's get some university hockey on again this year. We'll make sure we have that, which we do. Former Jaydlin Spooner of the Lancers out in Windsor will actually be doing our Goaltending Nation. So I am sending out tonight. I want her to take a look at Stuart Skinner after his performance last night. And I want her to actually take a look and walk through it. So we're going to have a former university women's game around that. So what do you think? What else could they do to build the women's game? I know Zill says they need to not put all their games mixed over a bunch of different channels so it doesn't cost her so much to watch them, because she'd watch them all.
So I know this seems like a very intense and wild idea, but why not have a summer league? The summer is a great time to throw in a few games here and there, have a few exhibition matches, and like the NHL does, maybe have some extra outdoor games in places, right? That would be really cool. I can't see how they can't organize that, right? You got to branch out. You're already competing for so many eyeballs and attention from fans, and you want to play on days. And I'll be honest, and we didn't get to it too much about the scheduling for the NHL this year, but when you have nights where it's like the NHL has 16 games, and then on Friday last week, there's 0 games. Well, you got to throw in, maybe do those nights where you have games with TV partnerships, right? That's kind of how I see the game grows. Now, they're already doing all the great things. They're connecting with their local constituents. They're having their little raffles, their draws. They're promoting a great product. They're getting out there. There's a lot of social media buzz. If you go to the PWHL website, along with their social media pages like their Facebook and their Instagram. So things are happening. It's just, it takes some time to build up, right? And you really want it to be natural and organic. Otherwise, it's going to be tough.
Well, I think I'm going to sell your little advertisement here to the PWHL because obviously I have a very different take on my disappointment with a lot of things, and Pawel's had a great spin on it. But you know what, guys? Sometimes getting a different spin is we go through our own disappointments, the way we see things. Maybe it's your own team. It's a league that you like or don't like. And then letting someone else come in with a different perspective, because no one is ever right in themselves, right? We need a fuller picture. And that's why we give to you guys. We don't just cover NHL. We cover leagues all across the world at every level of hockey, including sometimes around minor hockey. I had someone recently saying, are we going to bring some of those minor hockey kids on and do like a little round table for those kids to talk about how they're the next Gretzky? I don't even know if they know who Gretzky is. They're probably going to say the next Ovechkin or the next Crosby, probably. But
or
okay,
even
man,
or even Matthews or McDavid, right?
that's
But
it.
yeah, you wanted to get into the QMJHL, right?
Let me hit the queue. It's interesting. October 21st. This sounds really early, but the league has announced its inaugural prospects game. They have their own prospects game. Remember, they start before even the OHL and the WHL. They've always done this just based on the weather and a bunch of things and what's happening around in the Maritimes. I think it's less about Quebec and maybe more around the Maritimes, but it's always been a common thing. So anyway, it was scheduled for October 15th today, but it got moved to October 21st, and it's going to be in Sherbrooke, guys. It's going to have the top 40 draft eligible players. They'll have a team East and a team West. So I guess it's going to be Maritimes. I'm guessing our team West, and I don't know exactly the amount of teams. So some of you good few folks who know the exact numbers, you can tell me a little bit more about it. But it's going to be a showcase for a lot of hopefuls like Maddox Dejanier, who's out of the Remparts. And the tickets are going to be dropping right away here. So I expect the scouts are going to be lining up to watch this show, man. So what's going on right now in the World Juniors? Some interesting stuff coming up. We're only a couple months away.
Yeah, so I know they're starting to plan and look at roster options and who's going to be able to prepare. And it sounds like some prominent prospects that went in the draft or will be going in the draft have been invited, including our very own Michael Misa, who, when Max Miller came on the show in episode 1, he kind of touted his horns and just said what an incredible player he is. James Hagens, out of Boston, again, another player that has really shown some upside and potential. He's got size. So the U20 World Juniors should be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. It happens around Christmas, I believe. Boxing Day is when it starts up. So it should be some great, young, raw, talented hockey. So make sure you tune in and check it out.
I think it's the best junior hockey you'll ever see in the world. It is like some of the best games I've ever watched when you get down to the Final Four. And if you're watching prospects, and in 2 weeks, I'm going to get started on all my prospects and give you guys more updates now. But what I was going to say, if you are scouting them out and you go into the World Juniors, this is the thing to remember. Look for players who should be performing at a high level and are not. That's not a good sign. But because they're performing at a high level does not mean that they're necessarily going to be a superstar. Look for them performing at a high level against the best teams. If you rack up 6 points, say, against, I don't know, say Denmark, that doesn't mean nothing if you can't do it against Sweden. If you can't get a couple points. If you get nothing against Sweden, that goes a long ways, unless the whole team is shut out, of course, right, around it. So just so people are aware. Hey, let's move over before you wrap up the Champions League and around the league. The NCAA. So just so you guys know, the AIC, they have one D1 team, okay, that is dropping back now. They're going to be dropping down to D2, and they are doing what's called an accelerating conference realignment. So the American International College, also called AIC, okay, they've announced that they're dropping. However, that is leaving the Atlantic Hockey America shorthanded. And already Augustina's fast track in the CCHL, CHA, got to get all these names right, in their entry, they've moved up into D1. So there's going to be movement every year, just like as you're going to hear in just a moment from my buddy here. He's going to talk a little bit about in Europe. Just know that the alignments move up and down, and they have some flex depending on how well you did. And a lot of it does have to do with money, too, for being able to compete. So,
for sure. And so the Champions Hockey League out in Europe is setting up for the quarterfinals, which are quickly approaching. So that's going to be on soon. With both Farstate and Tappara as the early favorites to potentially meet in the finals. So again,
explain to maybe some people aren't familiar. Explain to them a little bit so they understand where these teams come from. Is this a team with standalone teams, or how does this work?
So this is the Champions League, which is in its 11th season. It's a European ice hockey tournament that happens often every year with 24 teams, and it's qualifications based on sporting merits. So the 6 founding leagues are often represented by 3 teams each, with 5 challenge leagues that are represented by 1 team. Of course, the one that have won the first one was the Swiss team, the SZC Lions, when they won in 2-1 in 2025. But essentially, the qualification includes CHL champions, National League champions, so the playoff winners, regular season winners, regular runner-ups, and third playoff teams, right? So it's a variety of these teams. So there's teams from Switzerland, Sweden, Germany, Slovakia, Finland, one even Italian team, and one Polish team that has been really, really tenacious. I believe they are called the GKS Tichy, and they're in the 3rd place. So in their group stage, but they've shown they could be an underdog, is what I'm saying. And so
it's love it though, eh? I mean, these teams don't get to play lots. I think Farstead, by the way, is my early favorite to win as well. I think that they're the guys going to come out of this. So.
For sure. And the round of 16, I believe, starts between November 11th and 12th, all the way to 18th, 19th. And then we get into the quarterfinals December 2nd and 3rd. And as people often know, the championship game is often around the same time as the World Juniors. So again, I usually try to catch back and forth. Yeah. So we'll be here to report it once that's happening.
Here's something that I do before I just wrap up. And sorry for the cue. I had a delay. It was my job to queue up our little segment. But anyway, I was going to say that I wonder, like Flow Hockey, I got to send out a note to them because it's saying I'm out of region to get the SHL, the Swedish Hockey League. Last year I was able to get it. This year I can't get it. I don't know what's going on with that. And so Flo, Chris Peters, anyone, if you guys are following, maybe let us know and understand, because a lot of people in North America want to know what's going on and would love, especially a lot of people that are actually from Sweden or following players from other countries playing in the Swedish league. You know, it is considered really right there with the KHL and the Liga as the top 3 European leagues. So definitely around that. So guys, that's Around the Ring.
So before we get to the next topic, I know Zilstra was saying there's no D2 NCAA double hockey. What it is Division 2, right? So that's kind of what Evan was referring to, unless I'm wrong, right?
So let's get into it just because of our timeline. It's very complicated. Yes, there is, but no, there isn't. So Zil is right, but it's I'll get it. This is one of those things that I feel like we need to bring Michael Devellano on, who has to deal with all this stuff down in the U.S. It gets confusing, man. Essentially, you got D3 and D1, but the D2 is another league, and it's not referred to as D2. But it's
so we're going to get into a little bit of NHL news here, and we'll get to the Utah in just a bit. But I wanted you to kind of go through Beckett Seneke for the Anaheim Ducks. I know you had some thoughts on him.
Yeah, so this was really interesting. So I was not a big pro of going that early. I like Seneke. He's an interesting player to watch. Now, one of the things is, if you study, he's had a very unique study. If you follow his size, he's had some literal growth. For example, he was 5'10" and 150 pounds when he was drafted by Oshawa Generals originally in 2022. Okay, that's only like a little over 3 years ago. Then, when he was drafted by Anaheim, he was 6'3" and 183 pounds. So within just a short amount of time, a couple of years, he literally grew 5 inches, okay, and put on about 33 pounds. Now, starting this year, he is listed as 6'3". Guys, this is and 206 pounds. This guy is literally bursting at the seams, man. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
All righty. And I know you also wanted to discuss Seattle Kraken and the Brantford Bulldogs offensive explosion for Jake O'Brien.
Yeah, so Jake O'Brien, as you guys know, he was last year's 8th overall. He had a 5-point night the other night. Not really focusing in on this for the OHL, but for UCL Kraken fans. Jake O'Brien is like a bulldog, man. He actually earned the OHL Player of the Week honors, and they are looking well, his team. They're sitting at 6-1-0-1. They're right now second in their league. And O'Brien is now at 175 career points. That is the fastest to that mark in franchise history in only 133 games. Weird. Very weird considering they've had guys like John Tavares. So anyway, interesting stuff.
All right. And we also wanted to look into Brandon Coots, who returned to the Thunderbirds for the Vancouver Canucks. He was a 2025th round first pick, which good for Vancouver for finally keeping that pick, because oftentimes they went out and just traded it immediately, which I know a lot of the fan base wasn't happy about. But, you know, he had a good camp. With 3 NHL games under his belt, averaging about 10:47 on time on ice, which, again, it's not enough for him to make an impact. And so if he can season a little bit more in the minors, then that will allow them to kind of bring him up in a couple of years, if necessary, to be that potential second-line center, because that's really what he's
You know what?
I
I think he might be on the World Junior team. I'm telling you, in camp, they didn't give him the minutes, but he should have got the minutes because I think he was one of their top 4 players every game in the these 2 games he played in the preseason. He should have got in. I'm not really big. You give him 5-6 games. Come on, let's see what you got. But Vancouver's. Let's face it. I don't care what you're saying. Vancouver is not going for wins this year. I'm sorry. They're the disappointing team for me. Another one, right? That I'm struggling with. Because they should have come out of the gates a lot better than they have.
100%.
You know, there's a lot of reasons behind it. Zilstra brought up she's a little concerned about how the coaching, how Foot's handling things, and with Pedersen. You know, but I feel for Canucks fans. I may not be a Canucks fan myself, but I still feel for a fan when you got all this hope and promise. And remember, I live in Edmonton area. We went through the decade of darkness. If you're in Buffalo, they're going through decades, plural, of darkness. In fact, in 2 weeks, I'm going to be talking a lot about Buffalo and their draft picking over the last 30 years. And then we'll talk about what the teams that they've wasted. So I've been doing a deep study dive on them.
Awesome. And before we get to the Utah Mammoth, is there any other news around the NHL? I know Zilstra says Dallas and Carolina are only 2 teams left undefeated. I mean, let's talk quickly about Glenn Gulletson. Do you want to give your quick thoughts about him as a head coach now for a second time around in the NHL, and also Mikko Rantanen and what he's been able to kind of do for the team?
Well, you're kind of putting me on the spot because I haven't watched a lot of Dallas early on season. I like Golly. I think he's a really good coach. I think he's got some good strategy. I remember he was the creator of the early power play in Edmonton. But can I just say he was also there the last 2 years, and the last 2 years have not looked very good like they should look. So I'm a little concerned that he wasn't able to adapt on the fly for Edmonton with the power play. So is he still running the power play in Dallas, or has he got someone else doing it? If you're a Dallas fan, definitely let us know. So, but
for
right
sure.
now,
yeah. And to Utah news, Ryan Smith, the owner there, has gone on record talking about possibly bringing in another team to the state of Utah, which is a surprise. I've liked what they've done with the arena because they kind of address that immediate need for that viewership from the upper bowl onto the ice rink, which I know was kind of blocked off last season. There is plans to build a new arena, but I think that's been a big thing. And so it was just announced, Evan, while we've been online. I just wanted to share this with everyone tuning in.
Okay.
This is the new Utah Mammoth mascot.
Love it, man. Love it. That is my instant favorite, tied with Gritty. Like, come on. What's his name? Do we know his name?
I'm not too sure what his name is. I'd have to look it up.
You guys got his name out there? Oh, that looks good. Like, great, man. Like
Tusky.
Tusky. Oh, that's good. Good. I mean, That's incredible. And doesn't that blend well with our background? With our background, it looks like
I do like the jersey. I think they're nice and sleek. It's one of the jerseys that I have to get now because I really do like.
I like the fact that a lot of people called it an AI created. It's just like, guys, have you saw the Pittsburgh Penguins? Have you saw the Montreal Canadiens or a Maple Leaf? Like, come on. There's nothing wrong. There's only so much. Like the Predators, come on, or the Florida Panthers. There's only so much that you can do, right? So what did Zill say?
Ain't a big enough second metro to host a second team. So,
okay. No, let me finish the conversation on this, Zill. Ryan Smith, the owner, has gone on record about the possibility of actually bringing another team in, actually 2 more teams in, and that is he is working at bringing the American Hockey League farm team and an ECHL farm team into the state of Utah. So this was a bit of a lead in here. For you guys just to kind of play with you. But yes, it's likely anywhere from 2 to 4 years to get them both. They're trying to decide on some locations, but they will be bringing in because they want to expand hockey all throughout the state of Utah. So I do not think they'll be in Salt Lake themselves. The 2 teams, the ECHL and the AHL, will be there. And can I just mention this? This was really weird. They are not allowing signage in games at the Delta Center. They don't allow it for NBA, and they're not allowing it for the NHL. I'm a little like, this does not seem like something that Ryan Smith would be behind. I mean, there must be some reason, which I'm going to see if I can delve into a little bit more. I'm curious why they wouldn't allow that.
It'll be interesting to see. So, and she says, so Grizzlies will move. You mean like my instinct was basketball first thing, Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, she's talking about the Utah Grizzlies.
Yeah, Utah Grizzlies. Yeah, it took me a second. This is why I'm watching too many sports all at once right now.
Well, this is just total speculation and just a little bit of rumors out there. So I'm speculating from. There could be something where Ryan actually purchases the Grizzlies team in exchange for them getting another team. But they take the entire team, and he actually moves that over to his team, their farm team that's technically theirs, with down in Arizona, because they want to pull them out of Arizona and move them from down in Arizona and pull them into there. So I think that is what they might look at doing so they can keep them. If not, this may be a move, because let's face it, I can't see them keeping the Utah Grizzlies. If Ryan Smith moves in some more teams, the state of Utah is going to support the new teams, and you'll have such a small fan base and sponsorship to still continue with the Utah Grizzlies. So I think it'll be a deal. He'll spend money, man. The guy spends money.
Oh, yeah, he's well invested in it. So, and it's going to be at all levels. So we applaud that. I'm looking forward to potentially checking out a game at the stadium there at Salt Lake in the near future. That's kind of a bucket list goal. So that's pretty much it. I know you wanted to get into a little bit of hockey history, so why don't you take us there?
Oh, we're going into the hockey history, man. I gotta love the hockey history. I apologize, by the way. So I've had a couple weeks where I actually didn't get to talk to you guys about it, but guys, I'm ready now, and here we go. Hockey History is sponsored by the way, the Pro Hockey Group, as you guys can see. That's Jason Bacala. They also work with Puckpedia. Now, they actually have all the information. If you really want to digest, learn about scouting, get the breakdowns from people, they have over like 100 plus scouts all out there around in different places, and they put their analyst stuff up. They have some great information in getting stuff that right into your living room if you have major interest. So, and if you guys don't know, Jason Bacala was the former director of scouting for the Florida Panthers, and previously he had done a lot of work around there, and for the NHL director of scouting. So anyway, let me guys take you back. Let's go into it's interesting, some of the teams that we're talking about today. So in hockey history, guys, interesting. We are going to dive in just a moment to some cool piece of history that happened over 48 years ago. And it was when the NHL's Colorado Rockies took the ice for the very first game in Denver, Colorado. It was a wild chapter after their Rocky, and I'm going to call it Rocky, pun intended, by the way, start, as that was the end of the Kansas City Scouts as they moved over. So picture this. The Kansas City Scouts have this struggling expansion team, and they had it for about 3 years, and they were battling it out in Kansas City, okay? They have this dismal attendance. So, by the way, you want a team back there, just remember that. They average just over 8,000 fans a game, but maybe that's 10 or 12 now. And they had a brutal record. By the way, you want to hear the record? 27 wins, 110 losses, and a 23 ties. It was ties back then. Over 2 seasons, they were on life support. They would have loved the new system with the top draft picks. Financial troubles and their ownership just kind of forced their sale. And then they were led by this group named Jack Vickers. He came in, relocated the team to Denver, Mile High City, baby, and rebranded them as the Colorado Rockies. Love the name. I like it better than the Avalanche. And I think they're very unique in Colorado. I love the names that they come up with. But they brought NHL hockey to Denver, and it was a market that was hungry, but it was more known for basketball and football at the time. Now, they debuted at the McNichols Sports Arena. That was the arena at the time. They had over 15,000 plus fans in attendance at that game. They packed it. It was buzzing with excitement. Even though it wasn't a win, the Maple Leafs took it 4-2. It was a night full of promise. The Rockies' new Mountain logo uniforms popped on the ice. The crowd got a taste of what it was. Daryl Sittler, by the way, and Lanny McDonald were there. And then, of course, Will Paymont, Mike Christie, if you're a Maple Leafs fan. But then came the moment that had everyone on their feet. Late in the third, with the score really tight, goaltender, now you might not remember him for many of you. His name was Michael Ploss. He made this unreal goal save with his glove. I just love, right on the goal line, on Ian Turnbull. If you ever followed the Maple Leafs, old Ian Turnbull. And it was point blank, stretched out across the crease, and he robs him with just over 5 minutes left. And he earned this rare standing ovation that was like, it was a glimpse of brilliance for a team that would finish last that season with, at least they doubled the Kansas City Scouts. They still got 21 wins. But it was a bold experiment that they did in the NHL in the 1970s and that expansion push that they had. And they pushed really hockey to this unconventional market originally. And though the Rockies did get forced to be moved to New Jersey to become who you guys know as the New Jersey Devils, in 1977, that was a thrilling start. And it wasn't long after, I mean, a short amount of time, and they got a team back. So if you're saying no to, guys, if you're saying no to Atlanta, maybe, just maybe, 3 times the charm.
That's some incredible piece of history. So thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, it was good. We're hoping we hear more in the future. So I think we're at the end of the show. This is, I think, one of the first, if not the first time we've ended under time. So props to us for doing so. Is there any final thoughts before we wrap up the show and end things, Evan?
No, I am interested and intrigued each week in the early season to see how fast some teams go off the rail, like you said early on. Let everyone settle down, fans settle down. You got to give the team about 15 to 20 games to even get a partial idea of what their season's going to be like. But I still think that you're looking at Chicago and San Jose. And guys, get ready for it. Calgary will be in the bottom 5 this year. I'm sorry, Flames fans. I don't think Wolf can save the team this year. Like, he literally won that game against the Oilers, and that was all him, man. So it's been a great one. How about you? Any final thought?
I'm just excited that hockey is back. There's so much excitement to watch. But you guys, if you need your hockey information and insights, come here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to join myself and Evan at Two Guys in Hockey Talk. We are on Twitter/X at Revenev or hockey_2. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on the Discord channel. We are trying to get out there. We've got a website with regular articles going out throughout the week. So come check us out. If you want to write, reach out to us. If you want to connect and talk hockey, we love to hear from you. We want to thank all of our sponsors that have worked with us, that have been really supportive of the channel. And we thank you guys for tuning in and taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to us yap about hockey, argue about hockey, and not even throw in the real rants. So that's it on my end. Any final thoughts, Evan, before we wrap up?
Man, it's been a great time again, guys. Just remember, check on the QR code, take your phone, go follow us over at our website. We appreciate you. It's been a great one. And as we say every week and every time, in the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe. Cheers.